Welcome back, everyone, to another very special episode of Water Polo Wednesday. We've got a special stand-in host that you're going to meet very shortly. We're going to break down the success at Fresno State Women's Water Polo with Coach Natalie Benson. We'll also take a look at Coppa Italia, the Italian Cup, and the success that Recco and Giacomo Cannella has had, as he'll be joining us later as well. However, most importantly, I want you to understand that from here on out, we are going to be building towards National League finals and, of course, the women's NC2A finals. We're going to dive deep into teams, conferences, the playoff schedule on the men's side, the conference schedule on the women's side. We're going to have guests from a number of different teams. And for the next 6.5 weeks, it is an all-out sprint to get you the best content, the most unique visitors. And we're going to break some incredible news over the next few weeks. So stick with us right here on Water Polo Wednesday. It's another great episode coming right at you. Welcome back, everyone, to another very special episode of Water Polo Wednesday. Now, for those of you who've watched us before, you'll notice this is not Clayton. In fact, this is Hathaway joining us as a stand-in for Clayton while he is away this week. We want to thank you for joining us, Hathaway, and filling in for Clayton.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, appreciate it. We have a ton to cover. Before we get things rolling, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify or whatever it is. We are going to be your source going forward for all things National League, and we'll get into the details of that in a bit. But you're not going to want to miss an episode from here until National League. There's about 6 of them coming up, so be sure to stay tuned with us. So now on to National League Weekend 4, that's coming up this weekend, the end of the regular season, which is exciting. Most of these games are exhibition, but there are 2 games that are not because Olympic Club is playing in their second weekend. They've only been able to make it down for 2 of the 4 weekends, so they have 2 conference games left. The first being against Riverside, who also unfortunately gets LA Athletic Club this weekend, so it's a great set of games for them. And then Olympic Club takes on the junior team in the game of the week at 7:30 p.m. All of those games will take place at Ocean View High School in Huntington Beach. Should be a really good match between the Olympic Club and junior team. I know Ryder Dodd will be playing for the junior team, I believe, this weekend. And, of course, Johnny Hooper is playing for Olympic Club. So you got a couple of existing Olympians going at it. And you love to see that level of play coming together. A lot of guys hoping to make the junior world team. It's kind of coming down to crunch time, only a few weekends left. And so I am really pumped for that matchup. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, you know what? That is going to be a lot of fun to watch. If you can get out to Ocean View, bring the noise, bring the energy. If not, make sure to stream the game on Overnight, the home of National League Water Polo. Now, remember, once this weekend is over, regular season is over. So let's talk about finals and what's to come.
Absolutely. So finals weekend is going to be at Mount Sac out in Walnut, California, April 25th to 27th. A couple of things to note, and you're going to want to stay with us here on the podcast. Next week, we'll be breaking the seeding and the brackets for that National League finals weekend, the playoffs. Then as we progress to finals, we'll be breaking down the matchups and bringing on guests from a number of the teams. The big thing here is this. This is a call to arms, or an APB, if you will. We need to absolutely pack Mount Sac Saturday the 26th and Sunday the 27th. It has a 2,500 person capacity. Our goal is to achieve 3,000 plus people there. Tickets are going to be free unless you want VIP seats. There will be VIP tickets. We will have all the details right here on Water Polo Wednesday. All the deals we can share next week on Water Polo Wednesday after the conclusion of the National League regular season. And Hathaway, I am so pumped for this. This is going to be the greatest water polo weekend of elite level water polo we've ever seen in the United States. Like, short of the Olympics being here, this is the highest level we will have ever seen in this country, with Dennis Varga coming over to play for the LA Athletic Club, Ryder Dodd, Chase Dodd, Johnny Hooper. I mean, Rafa Vergara is playing for Brazil. I know Tico Carcelati is playing for Brazil. There's a couple of Australian nationals in Andre Gregorovic and Luka Krstic. Like, there are a lot of really high-level guys, existing Olympians and Olympic hopefuls, all coming together to compete.
This is amazing. I am so looking forward to seeing how many people come out to watch this. Tons of Olympians and national team members, going to be so elite. And you know these guys are all coming ready to play. They're going to be in shape.
Yeah, for sure. And it's what's cool about this is, like, unlike previous years, we now have these college players, which means they're going to be in their 20 hours of training per week, meaning they're going to be in elite shape. And you remember when we used to work out 20 hours a week, Hathaway? That's
Wow,
the stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the stuff dreams are made of at this point. But I digress. Next week, we'll also be breaking down the Olympian and national team players per team. So we're putting together a list of everybody, just so everybody can see like who all these players are, like who to look for, and who are some of these big names you're going to start seeing on the international stage at Junior Worlds and World Championships this summer. Additionally, guys, we are working on creating the most incredible experience and atmosphere at Mount Sac for finals weekend. Again, stick with us as we progress towards that date. We will be sharing more and more. Tell your friends to tune in the podcast, share it with them. This is going to be your main source of updates, all things for National League Finals. We're stoked to be bringing this to you.
I love it. Hard for me not to want to share all of the details right now, but I get it. Let's get through the weekend and then we can really start to ramp this up. Moving forward, our next topic, Coppa Italia, or the Italian Cup. Recco wins it, which is exciting because they didn't win it last year, but they beat Sonova of all teams. Wes, talk to us about the Coppa Italia.
Yeah, so Coppa Italia, you got to love it. It's kind of their mid to end of season Italian Cup, which is super exciting and important to all these teams. Savona beats Brescia to get to the finals, which is incredible to begin with because Brescia won it last year. Marko Vavic, the American, had a goal in that semifinal. Balázs Erdely, the former UOP man, put up 3 goals. Max Irving for Brescia put up 2 of the team's 6 goals in the losing effort, 10-6. In the other semifinal, Pro Recco squeaked, and I mean barely beat Trieste. Giacomo Cannella had 3 goals for Recco in that semifinal, and the final score was 5-4. So he had 3 of 5 goals, like 60% of the goals. Like that's insane to me for one guy to have 3 of 5 total goals. It's been a long time since I've seen a score that low. In pro water polo, holding any team under 8 seems like an impossible task these days. Like it's pretty tough, to be honest. Good for Recco to win that tough semifinal. Hath, we say it all the time. The semifinal matches are usually more difficult and competitive than finals matches. And what's ironic about the semifinal score tally is that prior to Coppa Italia, we actually interviewed Cannella, Giacomo Jack, if you will, to talk about his mental approach and what it's been like playing with Pro Recco as they prepare for the Italian Cup. So without further ado, let's bring our guest into the studio, Giacomo Cannella. Welcome back, everyone, with an incredibly special interview here with Giacomo Cannella. Goes by Jack. Great to have you, Jack. It's wonderful to have you on the show, man, and see you again.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, too. Thank you so much for being here. We always like to lead with quite a bit of gratitude. We're really appreciative of you taking the time after practice as you guys prepare for the Italian Cup. Big cup for you guys. Before we get to that, I want to talk about you a little bit. You grew up in Rome,
yes,
and played for Lazio growing up.
Yes.
You then went to Brescia, and now finally the Pro Recco.
Yes.
So talk to us, if you can, about that journey and going from Rome to Brescia and now Pro Recco, and was it always a dream of yours to then end up at Pro Recco?
Yes, I think that everyone who plays water polo dreams of being able to play and wear the colors of Pro Recco.
Yeah.
Because it is the team with the most titles in the world and also in such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
So who will not to play at Pro Recco?
Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
When I was kid, I don't think about it that much. I only played water polo. I enjoyed the game. But when I was 22, I start to think that this will be my job.
Yeah.
So I moved to Brescia for 2 years, where I won Italian League against Pro Recco.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after this, I moved to Recco, and when they called me, I did not have to think twice. I made my decision after 1 minute.
Yeah, not uncommon for Italian Settebello players to play for Pro Recco. Very common landing spot for everybody. And to that degree, you guys have obviously had more success than any club ever. What you're in Euro League this year, right? And I'd be curious, as in your experience, you played in Euro League, you played in Champions Who's been the
Yeah.
toughest team? Who's been the toughest competition this year thus far, and outside of Italy?
Allora, I think that also Euroleague is a very difficult competition.
Yeah,
Also because it's not like Champions League, because you have immediately the knockout
yeah,
game from the eight of finals, quarterfinals, semifinals.
right.
So it's different, but it's also difficult. And so yes, Euroleague has been going well for us, and our goal is to win the cup in any competition we are in.
Sure. Is there a
We
specific
know.
team that you feel like has been
Yes,
tougher for you?
I think the strongest team that I see is the team of Kragujevac and Mladost. But
Lados. Yeah,
also Vasas, we saw that is a very
yeah,
good opponent.
yeah,
We have only 2 goals advantage, but when we play them again, we know that it will be hard.
yeah. And Lados just beat Jadran, which is a very storied club in
Yes. Yeah.
Montenegro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're in this group phase, if you will. You got a few more games. How do you plan and prepare your body as you've been playing a long time now, right? Like you're in your late 20s, which is like the peak. But how do you take care of your body with Italian league games, Italian Cup games, Euro Cup games? Like that's a lot of strain on your body, no matter what
Yeah.
age you are.
Yes. I think the first thing for us to care about is the food.
The food,
Yes.
I love
Yes. I
this.
think what you eat is what you do after. For
Okay,
me, is the first thing. But we have a great staff, so, and we have a great leader, our
hmm
coach, and we do only what he say.
yeah,
So also for this, we have the Italian Cup next week,
yep,
and we have been well prepared with trainings and our games to get us in a shapes. But honestly, we are not doing anything differently from the rest of the season. The most beautiful things in Pro Recco is that we train every day to win, not only for feel better physically or tactically.
yeah.
We train every day to win.
Amazing. It's a mindset thing, right?
Yes,
It's
it's a mind.
intentional.
Yeah, yeah,
We're not here just to train. We're here to win, and
yeah.
here's what we need to do to get there. I'd be curious. I want to go back to the food because I think that's a very underrated thing here in the United States. And I'd be curious. Do you have somebody that cooks for you? Is there a certain meal, like your go-to meal that you love to have for dinner, something like that?
No, no, I cook for myself and for my girlfriend, or if also her cook for me. But I think is right to have a good idea of what you eat.
Yeah,
Uh, I think you have to know to what you eat, if it's fat, if it's a good fat or bad fat,
mm,
how much carbo you have to eat, how much protein you have to eat.
mm.
So it's not I've not a really plan of meal, but I know what I eat.
Yeah. Yeah. We call this macros. And I think that's very
Yes.
insightful and
Yeah.
important. Now, obviously, the Italian Cup last year, you guys lost the Italian Cup last year. And that was pretty disappointing. It's understandable when you lose in Champions League because there's four unbelievable teams. You're playing against Denis Varga and Dusan
Yeah.
Mandic and Filip Filipovic last year, right? Like that's understandable. The Italian Cup, however, has kind of been an expectation for Pro Recco to win. What is different this year that like you're going into it going, all right, this is ours, versus last year when you weren't able to come away with a win?
Yeah, it was weird last year because nobody wait for this result.
Yeah. Yeah.
After the final, I was very bad with myself. I think whole team is have not a good moment, but we also have to understand what and where we have mistake.
Yeah.
And now the team is very different.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of players, but I think that the group is very strong.
Yeah.
So I just told you, I think that the preparation is very important, but you arrive to the win day by day.
Yeah.
So maybe yes, in this week we are more focused on the match,
Hmm.
on Brescia, on Savona, yes, but every time, every day we are focused
Yeah.
on the final match.
Yeah. And improving yourself, it sounds like, right? Like
Yes,
you're
yes, yes,
going through and improving. And I mean, great mindset now. And Savona's very good this year. Savona's very good
yes,
this year. Brescia is very good this year. It's great to see so many strong teams in the Italian league. Historically, it's really just been Pro Recco and just
yeah.
with everybody else, right?
It was wild also for us because we are last year we arrived at Italian Cup with zero final lose
Yeah.
since Sukno is here.
Yeah.
So it's the first lose in the final, and it was not good.
Yeah, I'm sure Coach Sukno had some things to say about that, and I'm as a former coach, I'm sure he is like very focused on winning this
Yeah,
particular
yeah,
event,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so we'll look forward to that, Jack. I think that's very very exciting. Is there anything specific he's been saying to you guys? Is there any added pressure? Can you feel a little more tension in practice, or is it kind of like, hey, we're just very programmatic. We're doing this, this kind of thing. Have things changed at all in lead up to the Italian Cup that maybe is different than other parts of the year?
Yes, we are. I told you we are more focused. Maybe we are more focused on the training. We have
Yeah,
always the thing that okay, the Italian Cup is almost here, so we have to be ready.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this and the level of the training is more high now.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
high
No,
now.
love that. Love
Yes.
that. Okay, so we're gonna transition on here. I'd love to. We'll move away from water polo a little bit, but you've always wanted to come to Pro Recco. You're living there now. Talk to us about, hey, what do you do when you're not playing water polo? Love to get to know you a little bit.
Okay, allora, I think that Reiko is perfect for us, for a professional athlete,
Yeah,
because we travel a lot and we are in all Europe every week. So I think living in such a quiet place is a great advantage for
yeah,
relax, for rest, and makes this team even more special with this beautiful location because we also played in the pool of Punta Sant'Anna,
right. You're
not
not you're
this
not
year,
in your
but
normal pool this year.
yes, yes, not this year, but the last year, yes. And I think it's like no, it's like home for me.
Yeah, I love
Is
that.
I think for the also for the other team it's difficult to play
Yeah,
here in this pool. And so yes, Reco for me is now is home because this is my first year here at Reco, and I hope there will be many more to come. Yes, is a city with 9,000 people,
yeah,
so everybody knows everybody.
yeah.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds, I mean, it is. It is a wonderful place.
Yes.
And it sounds like you're enjoying it quite a bit. Is there a pool in Europe that is like your favorite pool to play in? Yadron in the harbor was similar to Recco. You've got
Yes,
there's a
yes,
pool in
very
Rome.
similar.
There's
Yes,
a pool
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
Rome.
yeah.
I think it's AS Roma Nuoto's pool, right?
Not
And then
the okay. No, the pool that I loved because maybe because I start in this pool is the For Italico. The name
okay,
is For Italico in Rome near
yeah,
the Olympic Stadium.
yeah.
And for me is magic to play inside because you I think you play inside not only the water but in the history,
Hmm.
because I don't know if you see this pool, but it's very magic.
With the columns inside,
Yes,
right? It
yes,
feels like you're in almost a coliseum. It's
yes,
a
yes, yes,
very
yes,
different vibe and feeling. Yeah, no, I
yes,
know this pool.
yeah,
That's not surprising. I mean, great pool.
yeah.
So very cool, Jack. I very much appreciate some of the insight here, and we're very grateful that you would come on the show. I would be curious: is there a certain metric, a 6-on-5 metric, or a 5-on-6 defense metric that is like you really focus on? Is it conversion? Is it shot percentage? Like, do you guys look at metrics that way of like, hey, we need to get 50-60% conversion on 6-on-5, or stop 50-60% on 5-on-6?
Um, I honestly I think that we maybe I talk about the player. We don't see a lot of the statistic,
Interesting. Okay.
but we are more focused on do this part of the game well. So now I can say to you what happened in this situation. Fortunately, we have the our staff that is perfect for this, so it's not
Yeah.
my job now.
It's not your job. I love it. Okay. Well, look, thank you again. We'd love to open it up. Is there anything you would like to share? We've got a lot of young viewers here in the United States. Anything you'd like to share as a professional for so many years and playing for the Setabello? You've had great international experience. I'd love, is there any words of wisdom, we call them, that you would like to impart? We like to say the studio is yours.
I can only say that the practice is the most important thing that they can do, and day by day, I think that they can improve, and maybe sometimes the the grow up is not immediately, but they need time.
Yeah, stick with it, in other words.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
love
yes.
it. Jack, Giacomo, grazie mille. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure getting to
Thank you,
know you
bro.
and hanging out. Be in touch. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing interview and so serendipitous to have him on. And then he smashes through, putting up 3 goals in the semi, 2 goals in the final for Recco, led the team in both games. Just incredible to see. So, Wes, let's talk women's water polo. We had a chance to catch up with Natalie Benson, the head coach of Fresno State. Talk to us about her success before we jump to that interview.
Yeah, so look, like what Coach Benson has done at Fresno State is nothing short of amazing. She's won 100+ games in just over 7 years of coaching, 7.5 years. They won GCC last year, and despite dropping a game to LMU in regular season, they atoned for that in the GCC finals, knocking LMU off to earn a bid to the NC2A tournament. Natalie, a former Olympian, 2-time Olympian, she's also won a gold medal at World Championships, is recruiting at an elite level. Like she's done a magnificent job there. She knows what she's looking for. They are consistently a top 5 to 6 team, 5 to 6, 5th to 6th place team seemingly every year, which is amazing given that this program just started in like 2017. And I think she realizes she isn't quite there yet, right? Like to be a top 3 team. But she knows what it's going to take to get there. And which is pretty unique. Like a lot of coaches, I don't know if they have that kind of experience. I think everybody wants to get there, but I get the impression from her, as we'll see. She's really got it dialed in. And I've got a lot of admiration for her personally and respect for what Coach Benson is building for this program from the ground up and creating a legacy for not only herself, but also like the school and the standard at which Fresno State program, the women's water polo program, is going to be held to or viewed as kind of going forward, which is a standard of excellence.
Yeah, truly incredible to be able to come in and be competitive so soon and quickly, despite being a brand new program. We are seeing some of the newer coaches come in and turn these programs around. Akakai Key, Klatt, Benson, love to see the competitiveness and that fire from these coaches build great programs. Next up, our interview with Coach Natalie Benson from Fresno State Women's Water Polo.
Amazing. Welcome back, everyone. We have head coach of Fresno State Women's Water Polo, Natalie Benson, with us. Natalie, thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Look, we've admired what you've done at Fresno State since I believe 2016, right? You kind of built this program.
Yeah, so hired in 2016, and our first season was the 17-18 academic year. So thankfully, Fresno State gave me a year to recruit, to acclimate, to buy goals and caps and stuff like that, get some equipment up there. So it was great to be able to have a little bit of time to set everything up.
Probably a year you'll never have again to be able to just prep, right? We have so much we have to do. We rarely get time to prep as coaches. Talk to us about you've built this team into an unbelievable team. You've won 100 games in however long it's been, I guess 7-8 years now, right? 9 years. This will be your eighth, I think.
Yeah, this is our eighth
it's your eighth season, right? So you've won 100 games. Last year, the only game in conference you lost was to LMU, but you atoned for that in the championship game to make the NC2As. It's so rare that a program that hasn't been around for a long time is able to do what you have done. Tell the world about, is there a secret to this success? I mean, because it's truly impressive. Like, you're going against programs that have been around for 40 years, 50 years. And in 8 years, you're winning conference.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a testament to the athletes, the student athletes we bring in. I think the really cool thing about what we're building is that you have an opportunity to be, you have an opportunity to make it what you want it to be, right? We were just talking to the freshmen about it today, how, you guys come in, now that you've been here for a couple months, how did you think it was going to go? Could you have imagined yourself in this position now? And they were all like, yeah, I didn't really come in with too many expectations, and I just wanted to kind of see how it went, and everything's been great. But they ask me how I recruit and what we want to do and how we want to bring people in, and I think it's fun to have kids that have a similar mindset as me in terms of, we want to change what college water polo looks like. We want to have an opportunity to be who we can be. We want to put ourselves in a position to succeed and be around other people who want to push us in that same direction and challenge ourselves to see where we can go. And we don't really know what it looks like yet, but we're going to put ourselves in that position to be able to go there. And so I feel like there's a lot of courage. There's a lot of bravery. There's a lot of, they took that step willingly. And it's not, the sexiest of places. It's not the shiniest of opportunities.
Sure.
It's not your, number one public institution, or it doesn't have a big name next to it. But I think that's what drew me to it, is that it attracts people who might have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, people who are willing to kind of get in the trenches and battle, and people who have the personality to be able to take on the challenge that this has been. And so it's been fun watching the student athletes take it on and watching them evolve and watching them go through all the trials and tribulations of the many years, but also watching them be successful and watching them figure things out. And they own that completely. And so I'm just really proud to be a part of their journey. But being able to watch these young women evolve into strong, capable people who own their experience. And I think that, just like any other great coach will tell you, your athletes have to own they have to own their experience, because it can't just be us. Like, we got to do our job to the best of our ability, but at the same time, we're not in the water, and they get to make it what it is. There's no, tradition from 50 years ago telling us what we need to be. We get to create it, and we get to form that every single year. And even with my 2 new assistant coaches, like, well, what do we usually do here? I'm like, the beauty is we get to do whatever we want. We can do whatever we want at the banquet. We can do whatever we want in this situation. Yeah, sure. We can have certain new things. It doesn't matter. We get to make it what we want it to be. And so I think that's a really cool thing about this program.
In a way, you're building a legacy, right? From the ground up. You're building not just your legacy, but the Fresno State women's water polo program legacy. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty unique opportunity, I would say. It's a real defining moment to be able to say, hey, this is the culture that we've set. Now, you're no stranger to success, Natalie. If you're a 2-time Olympian, you won world championships, won a gold medal in world championships. Taking Fresno to win the conference probably isn't your end goal. How do you reach that next level where, you're competing for a national championship? What do you think, knowing what you know now, after, these 7-8 years at Fresno, what do you think is next for you? Where do you go from here, and how do you get there to win that national championship, or at least be in that conversation?
Right. I think the first thing is saying it out loud. We want to win a national championship.
Yeah.
We can't beat around the bush. You have to kind of, if it's crystals and manifestation and prayers and dreams and wishes and things like that, like, you at least have to say it.
Got to believe it. Sure.
Yeah. You got to put it out into the universe and chase it, because if you never say it and you don't believe it, then you're going to find yourself in a position where it's attainable. And we all know that this game is as forgiving as it is fickle, so we need to take advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves. And that's one shot block, one finished, follow through, 1 second, 1 inch, 1 deflection away from having that end result. And so I think the first thing is just saying out loud that this is something that we want to do. This is a goal that we have. And then when you speak that into existence, then you can actually go out and chase it. So hopefully, again, it attracts the right kind of kids that want to come in and change that, as opposed to just kind of being another spoke in the wheel somewhere else. And, I'm just another one of the many people who have done this at this place. Yeah. You get to be one of the first, or at least you get to try.
From a recruitment standpoint, what are you looking for? What, like, in an athlete, obviously, what it means to be a great water polo player. You're one of the best ever, frankly. Like, what are you looking for in recruiting these younger women, younger potentially girls coming out of high school or maybe abroad? There's a lot. The reason we ask this question to coaches.
Well, first, you got to be good at water polo. Yeah. Like, you have to be good at the game. And I know that's, I've actually. It's funny that you asked this, because you can talk with your staff about it. Like, hey, what are we looking for this year? What are we trying to get? And of course, everybody's going to say the same thing. We're going to say, we want some length. We want some speed. Somebody who can shoot the ball really well, someone who defends really well, good legs, good balance, mobile over their hips, blah, 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 right? We're all going to have the same criteria. Yeah. So that's a terrible answer if it's the right answer for everybody. But at some point, those attributes are nice. We'd like that. But I think the biggest thing that I look for is authenticity, honestly. Like, when push comes to shove, I want you to be an authentic kid. You could be a really good player. You could be an average kid who really wants to come, but if you sound like you're droning on through a chat GPT, or like you're coming through with like just your elevator speech, and it's not authentic and it seems really disingenuous, then it's going to be really hard for me to connect with you and for me to be able to coach you if you can't be honest with me about what you want. And sometimes what you want is, I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? And that's okay. Like, I'm not going to be upset with somebody for knowing what they want, and this isn't really my priority, or water polo is not my priority, or, I really want to do X, Y, or Z. And sometimes people will say no where this is a really good fit, and they say no. And that's also a little disingenuous, because they're trying to force the square peg into the round hole. Like, they want to go someplace because it looks cool or it sounds cool, even though they're going to be number 26 on the roster. Maybe they don't make the travel roster. Maybe they get limited minutes. And you think about the opportunities that are available to these kids. And it's like, all right, well, that's your choice. And again, I I wish you the best of luck. But at the same time, like, this could have been a really tremendous opportunity. But I think authenticity is one of the biggest things. Mm-hmm. Grit is a big one. And I know some of these things, like, you cannot quantify these things, but you know, you watch a game and you see how somebody reacts to something. You see the effort they put into establishing a front, or into lunging into the lane, or into following through, or whatever the skill is. You see the tenacity and the fire that they put into it, the effort they put into it. And, you know, we're Bulldogs, and we're from the Valley, and, you know, we're in Fresno, you know, so it's like, you've got to be blue collar, like, you've got to be, you know, willing to put in the work. And so I think those are the two things, outside of just being a capable and competent athlete, mm-hmm. That I try to look for, is just your authenticity and your ability to be resilient. You know, it's 115 degrees out here in the summer, and it's 30 degrees in the winter. Cold. What are you going to do?
How do you assess that? I mean, this is awesome, right? Like, honesty is mm-hmm. paramount. Authenticity, I think, is the right word, and grit. How do you assess that as a head coach? I mean, you talk to a lot of families.
Yeah, talk to a lot of families, talk to a lot of coaches, and talk to the kids and watch the kids. I think just going out and seeing them compete. How do they handle mistakes? How do they handle other people's mistakes? How do they handle fouling out of the game? How do they handle, you know, somebody giving them, you know, the right hook, you know, on the counterattack? How do they handle it? You know, do they crawl into their shell? Do they not engage on the bench with the rest of the team when they get subbed out? What's that?
Do they retaliate?
Right. And sometimes, and I've even asked coaches, like, is she, you know, just not a nice kid, or is she just really, really competitive?
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes, and I think you just have to ask, and you got to figure out the coaches that you trust as well. Because there's one kid I saw, and I loved it. You know, I love the way she played, but she always kind of like mad dogged the ref a little bit. Like, I was like, okay, you know, I don't really like that. That's not my favorite.
It doesn't help you.
But at the same time, so I asked the coach, I'm like, but she's young. You want to give her a chance. She's a younger kid. She was like a sophomore at the time when I was watching. And I asked the coach, I'm like, tell me, is she just super competitive, or is she just, you know, not the right kind of kid that I want in my program? Yeah. They're like, oh no, she's just super competitive, you know? And you're like, okay, you know, we can work with that. You know, it's easier to kind of bring the fire back down than to get it started at some point too. So I think just trying to understand the kid as well. Like, are you scared, or are you just not interested? You know, like, trying not to assume too much about them, and sincerely asking them questions without giving them the answer. And I just try to tell the kids, like, this is like a job interview for a job that you don't need. You know, you're going to the car dealership. You already have a great car. You're just kind of window shopping. You don't need it. So you don't need to buy it. There's no pressure. There's no stress. You know, you don't need this job, but tell me the truth, you know? And sometimes, even if it's something I don't want to hear, I like that kid more because they were able to be truthful and honest with me. And because I'm going to sit here and be truthful and honest with you for 4 years. So I need you to be able to reciprocate that to me.
And handle it. Knowing that they can handle the honesty and take ownership of it is what it sounds like.
Yeah, this is their team. Mm-hmm. You know, like, we lead the team, and obviously as coaches, you know, we get credit for what the kids do, but they're the ones in the water doing the work. And so they could very easily not listen, not put the effort forth. And so it's really important that we have the right kind of kids that are truly invested in the future of our program, right? They want to be good ancestors. You know, they have to, you know, plant trees that they'll never see grow at this point, you know? And so making sure that everything we do throughout all the walks of whether it's how we keep our locker room, how we get the equipment out, how we put things away, how we set up everything, like, is done together. There's no social hierarchy of anything. There's no freshman only jobs.
Love that.
We
Finally
all have to do it together. Yeah.
I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go run through a wall.
I like this program.
Yeah.
Was there a hunger that you found in the Fresno State culture to become national champions, or was it something that you feel like you maybe had to stoke a little bit?
Well, general Fresno State culture, there's a reason why I'm here and not some other places.
That's kind of my next question.
Yeah, like, I grew up in I like to claim East Los Angeles. I like to claim Whittier.
My
But
mom
North
grew up
Orange
in Whittier.
County.
Did you go
North
to, where'd
Orange
you go to
County,
Southgate?
Well, my dad worked in Southgate.
Yeah.
Both of my parents were from Downey.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I was born in Lakewood, lived in Whittier.
Okay.
And but I went to high school in Fullerton. My parents moved to La Habra when I was.
You know, you're getting further from East LA every
I
sentence.
know, but I like claiming it. That's where I feel a little bit more,
Connected. All right.
And so I don't like claiming Orange County too much, but so I grew up there. I went to UCLA, and everything was great. I had a wonderful experience. But moving away, coming back, and then being able to see this from the scope that I was in now, I had 2 children. I had experienced all the things I had experienced, and I wanted to have something a little bit different. I was kind of, forgive the pun, kind of felt like a fish out of water in that culture, in Orange County culture, in LA culture. It wasn't really my thing. It was very anonymous. Nobody really cared about their neighbor. It wasn't, you're on the 405 and you've got your blinders on and nobody cared. Like, get out of my way. My time is more important than your time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know I'm
That's
talking.
how I feel all the time.
You guys know how it is.
Oh yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And you're just in this rat race of, stacked parking and having to pay to park to go get your groceries and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't really want that in my life, kind of done with that. But I got here and I saw this, touring around, I saw this big green V. So it's this letter V, it's green, and it has this red vein in the middle of it. And a lot of people will see it on our uniforms and on the sleeve of our sweatshirts and things like that. And they always ask, like, what is that? What is that green V? And it stands for the Valley. So we're in the San Joaquin Valley. We are like the breadbasket of the world. If you like raisins and almonds, you're welcome, right? So they all come.
My son thanks you.
Yes, you're welcome, from this area. And so we stand for more than just our zip code. We stand for more. It's an entire region of people who root for Fresno State. And you think about, the Diamond Dogs back in 2008 winning the national championship in baseball. And then you had the women who won the softball championship in 98. And those are the 2 national championships our school has had. But then we have the rich legacy of Paul George and Derek Carr and Aaron Judge and Devontae Adams and, all these really wonderful professional athletes that have come out of our school. And there's such immense pride for these people and the things that they've done, these things that they've accomplished. And they still talk about all of these things from way back in the day. And these people are just really, really proud of their school and of the, what we represent. And so to me, it wasn't just UCLA, USC going down the street. We're both in the same city and we both have wonderful things going on. Like, we are an entire region, from, Sacramento down to LA. That's what we represent. And I think that that's really, really special. So we get to stand for something more than just us. And a lot of people buy into us as well. So lots of support from the community, lots of support from the institution. And so I'm really excited about it. But that's the reason I'm here, is because we get to do something for not just a school, but for an entire region of people.
More than just a community.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got a few international players on your team. It seems to be the way a lot of this has gone with water polo, which, it's a choice for each program, each coach. Have you found that getting them to Fresno is easy enough for you? I mean, Hawaii's got quite a few. Obviously, UCLA has a couple. USC has a lot, I think. Most teams have quite a bit. So you're competing with this talent. What's your pitch to bring these international players to Fresno? I mean, because it's got to be tough, right? It's not Hawaii. I'm looking at Hawaii going,
It's probably not what you think, but I think, for example, one of our grad students this year, our senior number 5, Abby, she transferred in from Wagner, and she had 2 years of eligibility. So she came in, and we're having our first phone call. She's in the portal, reached out, blah, 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 did all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, Abby, nice to meet you. I'm coach, blah, 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 pleasantries. And I was like, I'm assuming you're sitting in front of your computer. And she said, yes. And I said, I want you to pull up Google Maps and I want you to type Fresno in there. And I want you to tell me right now if you want to continue talking.
Just hit it right on the head. Just look, here's,
Why
it
not?
is what it is.
Better that way.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna sell you something that you don't want to buy, something that's gonna break down. And I think that also Fresno has such a negative, an unfairly negative perception externally, where we are the 5th largest city in the state. There is a lot of really wonderful things going on around here. We are an hour and a half from Yosemite Valley. We are close to sequoias. We have lakes and
Shaver Lake
and like just beautiful, beautiful outdoor things to do. There's concerts and culture and everything. There's a lot of fun things to do here too. It's not fancy, but it's pleasant. It's nice. And I have a 12-minute commute. I live in a cul-de-sac and I get to see my kids and I get to hang out with my peers because we live fairly close to each other and we actually get to spend time with each other. So it's actually a pretty connected athletic department as well. And so I feel like it's a lot of people who drive the 5 back and forth between Northern and Southern California and they see the sign for Fresno and they see like a Chevron station and an almond orchard and they're like, oh, that must be Fresno. And that's not Fresno. You are far, far west of Fresno, so you got to get on the 99, then you come and see Fresno. But I think it gets an unfair rap. But again, college kids can't afford to do half of the things they would want to do in the big city. So you're not missing much, especially when you're in season. You're training and you're going to class, and you're doing your study hall and studying and going grocery shopping and sleeping and, going to tutoring and things like that. You don't have time to go to do all the fun big city things. But I think that's another attribute to our success. I believe is because they spend a decent amount of time with each other. They're a pretty connected group. They're not distracted by a lot of external stuff. And, but again, I think people unfairly give Fresno a bad rap, but I call it out though, like where it's like, all right, yeah, other people are going to say stuff. So, okay, that's fine. Go ahead and say it.
I don't know. Fresno has a bad rap. It's just from a perspective standpoint of going to Hawaii, going to whatever, LA.
I think it's kind of missing a rap
right
next to these other places that are more exciting, as you would say, right? But if you're there, it's probably lovely, and there's you got everything you need right there, and probably more than anyone would realize.
I mean, in fairness, right? My wife played at Michigan, and it's not like Ann Arbor is like a destination you're ever going to be like, right? But it's great because it's a college town. I know Fresno State is very much a college town. The town really rallies around the programs and all that good stuff. I'm sure you've got great turnout there, and you hosted a big Polo Palooza earlier this year, which was a big success for you. So
that was fun.
Natalie, this has been great. I mean, I feel like we could keep talking forever. We like to ask our guests this. If there's a metric that you focus on as a coach, what would that metric be? You can only pick one.
Only one.
Yeah.
If I had to prioritize, it's the human nature of our group, right? I think I would say 80% of my job is teaching them how to talk to each other. Communication, right? So empathy, understanding, cultural differences, societal differences. Not everybody has 2 parents. Not everybody has parents that are together. Not everybody has siblings. Not everybody is from here. So I think people have different ways of looking at the world and looking at what we do. And there's no, binary way to attack a water polo game. And, you can approach it many different ways and still maybe come to a successful outcome. And I think that we just have to understand that each other, like we're all in this because we want to be successful and we all want to win. So if we do it a little bit differently and it looks a little different, that different doesn't mean it's bad. Right. So I think that establishing a culture of communication, connection, and cohesion is my big thing. And then ultimately, because of that, you want to help your teammates. You want to bring them up with you as opposed to pushing them away. So the older girls will bring the younger girls in, spend time with each other. Hey, come over. Let me show you how to do this. This is what coach wants. This is how this looks. This is what the skill looks like. Be my partner. We have them partner up with each other in the fall and kind of like coach in the water, so they can help them out a little bit. So that builds some trust, helps them communicate the skill. And then also it holds them accountable to doing the skill correctly because they're the one who told them how to do it. Right. So that's always fun. But I would say that would be probably my biggest metric to success, because without that, then all the other stuff is pretty useless.
Yeah, I heard you name some processes that you do to actually establish this kind of communication. Is that more of a gut feeling if the communication is good or not, or like is there something like is there some kind of like scoring that the coaching staff uses to measure like how are we doing on communication? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no scoring, but we do have like, you have your canary in the coal mine a little bit. You have your athletes that are connected, or kids will come in and be like, hey, I'm really struggling with this situation. And you're like, okay. And you're not going to say, hey, so-and-so came and told me that you were doing X, Y, or Z. It's more of like thank you for letting me know. Now we can be aware of it. And we can maybe coach this person up on how they should handle these types of situations, or coach the athlete who came in up on how to maybe best address that with their teammate. Right. And it ranges from like roommate issues to, not wearing the right t-shirt in the weight room to whatever, there's a million different things that it could be. But I feel like the more we work on that, then those issues, don't become like omnipresent in a game. It's not something that's just like constantly in your face, like that they're just digging at each other. It's like, if you want to make this work, you guys have to make it work. You got to put the time in to connect with each other. And there's a fun little game, like We're Not Really Strangers. Have you guys seen that game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little red box at Target.
Yeah. Right.
Clay plays
yeah.
a lot of games. I don't have time for that.
But you can go online.
Mind games with Wes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have like level 1, level 2, and level 3 questions, right? And I like them because they're just like little icebreakers. And some of them are pretty deep. Like, what was the first thing you thought about me? Like when we first met, you know what I mean? You're like, ooh, that kind of puts me on the spot and I have to be vulnerable with this person. And the girls absolutely hate it. But at the same time, we make them go on like little, like you have to kind of go on little coffee dates with your friend. You can't just be like walking from practice to the locker room. It can't be hanging out in the locker room. It has to be, you set aside time with your teammate to go and get a matcha or whatever it is you guys
eliminating clicks as well.
Yeah.
It sounds like, yeah.
But also like ask questions like, did you know this person has 2 siblings? Do you know this person's parents are separated? Do you know that, their dog just died? Certain things like that, where maybe that could help you build a little bit of empathy for why this person is the way she is. And you can assume positive intent out of that person.
The humanity aspect of this is fascinating to me. We have yet to hear this type of approach. No, it really is, because we've yet to hear of a coach.
This is fascinating.
Yes.
It really is fascinating, just the approach that you've taken. It's totally different than anything we've interviewed some of the best coaches around in the United States, from Krikorian down to, Sarah Lazat, who's the new assistant at San Diego, who we love. They're great. These are great coaches. This is different. And so I applaud the approach here. I think it's amazing how many times you've mentioned people's families. And I mean, that's really what we are, right? We're nothing more than really a byproduct of who raised us and where we're from and whatever else. So I love that. So we like to open it up at this point. It's been awesome having you, Natalie. So thank you for being here. We like to say the studio is yours. If there's anything you'd like to share that you want people to hear, this is kind of your platform.
Okay. Well, I've kind of alluded to some of this stuff. I think that, I guess challenging people to believe in themselves enough to know that they can make a pretty big difference. And it can be a lot more fun when there's more parity. I think it's only helpful for our sport. I think there are, as you mentioned, there's a ton of really wonderful coaches out there, a ton of really wonderful programs. I'm not saying I'm batting 1,000, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't like playing for me, and that's okay too. And so I think that there's just being a little bit more discerning as to what your fit is, and understanding that your fit isn't determined by the social cast that you've put yourself in, or, like what your parents want to talk about at the country club, or, anything like that, right? You are the person who has to wake up and throw up in your mouth at 6 o'clock in the morning to in your swim set or whatever it is, like you're the one who has to do this and experience this. So regardless of where it is you choose, you need to choose what's best for you. And I think having that understanding of self, that reflection of self, and knowing that like a college degree is going to take you places, right? You're going to be fine. We're all accredited universities. You'll be okay. You know what I mean? There's not one place that's going to set you aside or set you apart from others. There's no this arrival fallacy that everybody believes in. Like once I get here and I do X, then I'm going to be happy. That's absolutely not true. And that goes for athletes, that goes for coaches. I like it here because it fits me, and there's places where I get to be myself. I get to be authentic. I get to work with young women and be kind of a maternal figure in their life and watch them grow up. And we win water polo games too. And sometimes we don't, but we're successful. But I think that my biggest success is that we've got happy kids, kids that are feeling like they've gotten something really positive out of this. And I think that that's another big thing about recruiting too, is that it can't be a transaction. It can't just be, things exchanging hands. Like it needs to be a good fit. Like how can you help our team be successful, and how can we help you be successful? And then are you bought in on that? Or are you just kind of like window shopping? Which one is it? Are you going to wear the pants once and then leave them in the closet? Or are you going to be, they're going to be your new favorite pair? Yeah. Which one's it going to be? And so I think that type of thought should be encouraged. And then ultimately, the parents just want what's best for their kid. But I think, I'm convinced that happy people play better. They play more free. They play more joyfully. They're a little bit more loose. And so we just, deep down inside, we just want our kids to be happy, so encouraging people to kind of think outside the box on that. There's no one place, two places, or four places to go to school. You can go to many different places and have a really great experience. And then also, like, for maybe people who aren't involved in college, please, for the love of God, if you're a club coach, like, teach basic foundational skills.
Fundamentals.
Teach fundamentals. Teach people how to egg beater properly, how to come over their legs properly, how to have balance, how to follow through, how to snap their wrists, how to have a high elbow. We don't need to teach fancy plays and all this other nonsense. We need to teach them how to have a good foundation of skills so that they can swim correctly. We're like giving swimming lessons over here. We need to be bilateral breathers. We need to be able to kick. We need to be able to egg beater properly. We need to be able to move over our hips. And we need to be able to pass, catch, shoot. So please, foundational skills. And don't be afraid to like ask people for help. This is like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You can phone a friend. You can have like a mentor or a person that you can reach out to. And, you just got to be able to ask. We're such a small sport. We can't afford to kind of silo our information and gatekeep. Like we need to make sure that we're sharing this information with each other so that we can, as a sport, continue to progress and evolve and grow, or we're just going to be left behind.
Well, there's a lot we could talk about with that last comment there. But thank you, Natalie, for taking the time. Coach Benson, two-time Olympian, world champ, and head of Fresno State Women Water Polo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Another great interview. That one with Coach Benson. I feel so honored to have the opportunity to speak to these coaches and continue to learn. I get so fired up, Hathaway, when I'm able to talk to these coaches. I feel like I'm back in it. As a reminder, everybody, all the MPSF games are going to be streamed on overnight. I'll be actually broadcasting the Stanford games this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Be sure to say hi if you're out there in person. Would love to see you guys and meet everybody. Or be sure to tune in on overnight because those games will be streamed on overnight. Should be a couple of great games this weekend at Stanford. Hathaway, thank you for stepping in for Clay tonight. Did a great job. You're welcome back anytime. We love having you here and really appreciate you jumping in here on short notice.
Happy to be here. Obviously can't replace Clay. I will see you at the games this weekend at Stanford, but any opportunity to talk water polo, especially women's water polo, I'm here for it. So thanks for having me.
I love it. Thanks again, Hathaway. And thank you for all our fans out there who continue to write in. Be sure to email us at waterpolowednesday@gmail.com. Remember, everybody, life is short. Score goals. Have a great night.